Hello, my name is Mary Ann Fife. I'm a Senior Project Coordinator and Learning Designer at SILT. And this Vula site walkthrough is going to be looking at the different ways that teaching teams communicate with students via their Vula sites. This screencast is going to be structured by looking at three different types of communication: general communication, timely communication, and responsive communication. But before we go into those, I just want to put forward a few good principles for communicating on Vula sites. The first is to be authentic and show a little of yourself. Some people do this through showing their sense of humor, others through exhibiting a caring and compassionate nature. Whatever works for you and whatever gives you a sense of connection with your students. Next, it is important to pay attention to tone. A couple of pointers in this regard is to use the active voice rather than the passive voice. Communicate, whether it's verbally or in text, in the first person rather than in the third person, and to generally be warm, direct, and concise. Another important point is to let students know when you will be online and when your teaching team will be online and when you will be around to answer their questions and queries. Learning online can be a really anxious time for students, and one way to reduce this anxiety is to let students know when you will be able to answer their queries, whether it is between office hours, 9 to 5, or whatever you personally are able to commit to. One thing to note about the different types of communication is that they're not mutually exclusive. Different tools can be used for different types of communication, and it's used here merely as an organizing tool to organize the structure of the screencast. So when we talk about general communication, we talk about the communication that traditionally gets communicated at the beginning of the course via the course outline. And in an online setting, you are going to want to introduce yourself, introduce the teaching team, talk a little bit about how the course is going to work and how the site is structured. The tools that are available are the overview tool, the course outline tool, and the lessons tool. We're just going to have a look at the course outline tool because it doesn't appear in the sites that we're going to have a look at. But what it has is that it allows you to create sections that are easy to move around. So it allows that flexibility. You can publish and unpublish sections as you see fit. And it also allows you to expand, or allows the user to expand sections and contract them for easy readability. Let's have a look at this course Initial Spanish B. Here you can see that they have used the overview tool, and it includes a little bit of information, brief information about the course, contact details, and an introductory video of how students are going to navigate this course. It also includes widgets. You can see the most recent announcements and the calendar. So the overview tool allows you to add widgets for recent announcements, the calendar, and recent messages if you are using the messages tool. In this course, the course outline information was placed on a lessons page. As you can see, there's some general information, course admin information about the course structure, about the textbooks, about the tests and assignments, etc. Let's go and have a look at another course that has done things slightly differently. This course, Business Accounting, has structured information in a slightly different way. They've used the lessons page and combine the welcome and key information on the single page. They've got a really nice welcome introductory video that introduces the teaching team with cute emojis and icons, and this really speaks to the idea of authenticity, tone, and building a connection with your students that we spoke about earlier. So let's move on to talking about timely information. Timely communication is the type of information that students find useful to have at a particular point in time. And one of the tools for providing timely information is the announcements tool. And there are different categories of information that you can communicate using the announcements tool. You can look at planned communications. So you can see that this course, the teaching team planned to communicate regularly on a Friday, updating students or rounding up the week. You can also talk or give key course updates. In this case, the teaching team chose to communicate the results of test 1 after they had been marked. And you can also provide responsive communication. So here they talk about the importance of following instructions, and this was presumably as a result of the teaching team observing that students were not following instructions. So they used the announcements tool as a means of communicating or reminding students that they should be following instructions and reading instructions at all times. Something to note about the length and frequency of announcements: there is no hard and fast rule, unfortunately, but you do want to be thinking about how much you are communicating with students. Generally, you want to keep it short and sweet. You want to be aware at least of the number of announcements that you're sending out so that students don't get fatigued, and also be deliberate about your choice of subject line. Students are not going to not open an announcement that says test 1 results. Another tool for communicating timely information is the lessons tool. The lessons tool is a really powerful tool for providing information as and when students need it. So this set of learning objectives applies particularly to lesson 1 of week 1. If we scroll down a bit, you will see that there's additional recommended learning activities that point to a particular section in the textbook, 12.1 and 12.2, page numbers 408 to 411, and this information could be communicated through another document that you give students at the beginning of the course, but it really is valuable for students to have the information when they need it while they were busy with this particular lesson, week 1, lesson 1. Lastly, we're going to have a look at tools for responsive communication, and there are many different tools for responsive communication in Vula, namely the Q&A tool, the forums tool, the chat, comments. Have a look at discussion forums. It's important to note here the course team has let students know in this topic that they will receive a response by 5 p.m. on a Monday if they post on a weekend. So that's important for students to know. Then the course discussion forums have been organized by week. So if we go to week 1, all the discussion related to week 1 topics will be contained here. The discussion forums have also been anonymized to allow students to feel more comfortable to ask questions. Another tool for responsive communication is the Q&A tool. What the Q&A tool does is it allows you to categorize topics. It's also anonymous, and it allows you to move questions between topics. So if you feel a question is more relevant in a different topic, you can easily move that around. So just to round up the screencast, there are many different tools for communication in Vula. It's up to you to select the appropriate tool to use for the information that you want to communicate.